So welcome. My name is Jake Lamar. I'm a visiting writer here at the Institute for Ideas and Imagination. I'm interviewing Emmanuel Gras, a filmmaker who edited his new documentary here at the Institute. It's a documentary on the Gilets Jaunes, or Yellow Vest protest movement in France. Emmanuel, congratulations. The film is terrific. It is titled En Peuple, a people in English. And it is, I think, a really important work that will endure as an indispensable record of a political and social eruption that took place during the period covered in the film, November, December 2018, up to March, April 2019. May, as far as May, okay. Let me start with a question for our international audience. People in France know the answer to this, but folks in the United States kept asking me a couple years ago, why the yellow vest? Why did this safety jacket become a symbol for this protest movement?
The people, motorists, and everybody who has a car has to have a yellow vest. So the yellow vest is a symbol of someone who has a car and who needs to go to work with his car. And this tax, which seemed to be something very small for Parisian people, from people in big cities, because the car is not so important and the price of the gasoline is not so important, was very, very important for people from the countryside. And so that's why it was like, what is interesting with this symbol is that even this symbol is not elegant. I mean, I think we will talk about how people from the left or the right, but from the cities, saw what was happening. But there was something really of the upper class, how upper class see the lower class in France.
Yeah. The yellow vest automatically means you have a car. It means, since everybody has to have a yellow vest in their car, the yellow vest signifies you as a motorist. And as you say, it automatically means people who don't live in big cities with public transportation like Paris. But we see in the film that the protest quickly morphs, changes, transforms into something beyond a revolt against a gas tax, and becomes something much more complicated. Part of what makes this film so powerful is that you were, as American journalists say, embedded with a local chapter of the Gilets Jaunes, the Chartres branch. Chartres is best known for its cathedral, but from the opening of the film, the camera pulls away from the cathedral and shows us another Chartres, a Chartres that tourists never see or rarely see, and you introduce us to the people who live in Chartres that tourists probably wouldn't meet in the course of their day trip. In your film, you focus on 4 individuals involved in the Gilets Jaunes movement, and this intimate human dimension is really powerful. It transcends the political abstractions and the theoretical debates that people were having, and takes us right into the human story. You're on the ground with and in the living rooms and kitchens of people who become, in the language of my métier as a fiction writer, they become characters. They become like these compelling characters you really care about. And each of your 4 principles has a particular motivation for joining the Gilets Jaunes. So I'd like to ask you about each one. Let's start with Agnès. Why was she compelled to join the Gilets Jaunes?
So Agnès is the mother of 2 children, and she raised her children alone. So she's a worker, she works, and she's a mother who has to get the money for her children. So she explains in the film that seeing that the price of the gasoline was going higher and higher, and with this new tax going higher more, it was like really a protest directly against this law, this new tax, and because she was like struggled. She explained that with the money she makes, she can't live with this way anymore. So it was really a financial problem at first, and after that she discovered new things.
Such as
the fact that she was feeling oppressed, and for all of them, I think that what they discovered after this first movement of rebellion is that it was like all a life of being pressured, of just having the feeling of just being at the edge of drowning, and the fact that they are also not seen by the politics, that they are the people who are always forgotten. So it's all a lot of angriness or of not being recognized by the rest of the society. And I think that's something very important. Is who are they? I mean, we will talk about it.
Yeah. So how about Alain? Why does Alain become a?
Alain is very interesting because he is a young man. I think he's 28, and when I met him, I felt like it's really is very singular and also representative of something very new in the new generation. It means that people who are living in a very liberal world, economically liberal. So he gets his money by being a professional poker player, and he spent time. He comes from a very poor family, but so it was not really good as a student. But he's very intelligent. He's like. Someone who is not, he doesn't fit, in studies. It doesn't fit in professional world, and so, but he succeeded in living by being a poker guy. But he's very isolated, But in this society where individuals are very separated, he found in the Yellow Vest movement something that was talking to him as something collective for people like him,
But he seems most concerned with ecology.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, that's right. I'm explaining something that you don't see in the film, but that's right. That for him, it's not his direct situation which is important. It's the world situation with ecology, and it seems maybe contradictory for the rest of the people who think that Yellow Vests were just for the car and for the gasoline. But no, people are concerned also by ecologists.
Which is a whole other branch. You see how this movement is just becoming all things to all people in a way. How about Nathalie? Why does Nathalie join the Gilets Jaunes?
Nathalie is a little bit like Agnès. It means that she raised also 2 children alone. But I think she comes from a syndical. She was like not a militant, but she was a syndicalist.
Working for a union.
Working for a union. Yes, sorry. Mm-hmm. So she is used to fight in a way, so when the Yellow Vest movement began, she was not sure to go with them. It was not very clear. But because she thought, okay, it's not something really new, and I'm just tired of all the lost cause we had, as union workers. And she felt like, okay, something was happening, something new was happening, and so she came in at this moment.
I think with her, you really give us a sense of the desperation. Mm-hmm. That the working class feels. She says at one point, how do you raise 2 kids on 1,200 euros a month? 1,200 euros a month, it's hard for one person to live on that. To raise 2 children on that, you realize just what a struggle her life is. And she says, this is what my whole adult life has just been, a struggle just to survive. And it seems she's lashing out against that.
Yeah, exactly.
And how about your finally your fourth major character, Benoit? What is his motivation?
Benoit, he was homeless guy, but now he's a worker. He works in a factory, so he has a past. He has a past of knowing what real misery is, so he explained in the film that when the Yellow Vest movement began, he was not okay with the revendication about what they were asking for, the gasoline price and all of that, but he realized that the cause he was defending, it was the cause of homeless people, of misery, of people who are really out of the society, was also something that was included in what they were fighting for, the Yellow Vest. It means he really wants a change of the system. He says system, a change of society. That's what he's dreaming of.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. He says he was a hardcore alcoholic for 20 years. He was homeless for 8 years. At the time of the filming, he's been sober for 7 years. And it feels like this is giving his life some meaning. And the title of our talk is taken from something he says in the film. He's constantly talking about the system and that the system is rotten. And I think this is something that ends up being kind of the unifying idea of the Gilets Jaunes. That there's just, whether you're talking about globalization or climate change or inequality, there's an entire system that just isn't working for people. And they're lashing out against it. There's a very striking moment in the film when Benoit and Nathalie are in a big store buying supplies for the Gilets Jaunes, and the manager of the store, he says on camera that he only allowed you to shoot in the store if you let him have his say about the movement. As the filmmaker who accepted the deal to let the store manager have his say, what do you think he brings to the argument, to the story?
I think he represents really the point of view of the big part of the society, French society, which sees the Yellow Vest movement as something that has its own reason. Okay, he said, okay, I know that there is misery, I know that there is poverty, and I'm against it, and I also know that the system is going crazy, so the liberal capitalist system. So it's like he understands all of that, the reason that there is reason to be angry, but he doesn't accept the idea of the violence, because from the beginning, Yellow Vest protesters has been accused of being violent, and that's I think the question of the violence, and at what point something is violent is very important. I mean, he represents the point of view of the everyday people when something is happening like that.
Yeah, and he really challenges them. He criticizes the violence. He criticizes the traffic blockades. He acknowledges that the system has become crazy, but he really insists that the Gilets Jaunes make concrete proposals. He says, proposer des choses plausibles. He really wants them to present a coherent, viable plan. And it seems that the closest thing the Gilets Jaunes has, the closest thing they envision to a viable plan, is the RIC, the RIC. Can you explain what the RIC was?
The RIC is a referendum d'initiative citoyenne. It means that any law, it means that if there is a quorum of, for example, 1 million people in France will say, okay, we want to vote on this subject, it's possible to propose it and to submit it to the rest of the nation. And so it's a referendum, but from the initiative would not be from politicians, from the government, but was possible from the population. Mm-hmm. And so it can be about laws, it can be about interdiction of changing of the laws, changing of the constitution, and also the possibility of changing of the government if we want, directly, if so. And it's something that does exist in other countries, and in different states in USA, there are this kind of referendum.
Referendum initiated by the citizens that then get voted on.
Yes, it seems that they had this idea. It's like a dream. I mean, it's because they don't know exactly. It's what is moving for me is that it's like they want to express their angriness, and they want to express that something is wrong. And the answer was, but tell us something clear. What do you want? But it's difficult to say what do we want. We know that something is wrong. That's the most important thing. And so this idea of RIC was, okay, give us that, and after that we can think about, we can change things in a way that we are okay with. I think it's like an utopist.
Utopian.
It's utopian to think that they will get it.
And whatever became of it? What happened to the RIC? I don't hear about it anymore.
You know, the answer of the government to the Yellow Vest movement was the grand débat, the big debate. That's what they call it. And so the idea of local RIC was agreed. Okay, they say, no, it's not absolutely not possible to make it like something national, but for local subject, yes, okay, we can organize some RIC, it's possible. So it was like ejected of the discussion.
Okay, so it's just sort of become a localized thing. So the community in Chartres could propose their own RIC, but there's no national referendum thing. Okay. You show us the infighting in the Chartres branch, the conflicts among the Gilets Jaunes. By February 2019, it seems that the movement might actually implode. As you just said, Emmanuel Macron, the president of the République, launched a grand debate where he went around the country trying to engage with people and address people's concerns. And it seems as if there's a moment when that seems to be taking the air out of the movement. But people are not all that happy with the grand debates either. You have some scenes where it seems that the politicians are just talking beyond the Gilets Jaunes, for instance.
Yeah, but because they had the feeling of, okay, they wanted a big discussion, big changes, and it's like this idea was stolen by the government to organize something where it was not possible to really being critical against the government. And they had, but yes, it was. I mean, that's where I think that those people who were, it was for most of them the first time they were engaged in something public, and they had been really caught in problem of strategy. What do you have to participate to this grand debate, or do you have to say no, we don't want to discuss with you? And the risk is to be considered as people who don't want to discuss at all. And they had been taken in this political strategy, which was very complicated for them they discovered everything during this period.
Yeah, and I know you show a scene of one of the grand debates, and the politician is up there, and something appears on the screen. It's like our ideas for the country, and it's sort of like it's in a way it's sort of like co-opting the movement. It's not even saying your ideas. It's our. We're working together. We're with you, Gilets Jaunes.
There is no real problem. Everything has a solution, and it's this idea that brought Emmanuel Macron and a lot of people who are, I think, coming from the right wings. They say, no, this is the end of history. The capitalism can be organized for everybody. There is no conflict into the society, no real conflict. Maybe it's misunderstanding, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but no real conflict. So if we discuss, we will find solution. But no, there are some real conflict, and people from lower class, they can feel that they don't profit, they don't gain any profit from globalization, and so they are constantly in front of politicians saying we have solution for everybody, and they feel that the solution are not for them. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and this comes out in the demonstration on the Champs-Elysees on the 16th of March in 2019. There was a quote. It's not from your film, but I read it at the time. Gilets Jaunes said just before that demonstration, "We're marking the end of the grand debate." And the night before this demonstration, which would take place on the Champs-Elysees, the night before in Chartres, Benoit warns the Chartres division the night before. He says, "Dress in commando style," and he's already talked earlier in his exchange with the store manager about the need for a social explosion, and it seems that this explosion actually happens on the Champs-Elysees on the 16th of March, and the Champs-Elysees turns into a war zone, really. And it is an extraordinary and gripping sequence that you filmed there. To me, this is documentary filmmaking at its most courageous and visceral. And again, so much of the power of this film comes from the way events are personalized. So I remember watching the violence live on TV at the time, and it was very disturbing, but nowhere near as terrifying as seeing Agnès and Nathalie cowering on the Champs-Elysees. What was it like filming that day?
First of all, there is something very different in when you make a documentary and when you watch a documentary or when you watch news pictures. It's very. What I wanted is that people who see the film, they can feel to be at the place from the point of view of the people who are protesters and who are caught in the middle of this violence, and that's very different when you really feel the way that people when you are with people, not when you are an observer and you see violence. It's not the same thing. So all the film I want that the spectator of the film is embedded, as you say, but not only by the group, also by the feelings that you can feel the way people feel. And in this situation, yes, I understood. I mean, everybody knew that something will happen during this day, that violence will explode, and it was very strange because I lost them at one time. I was with them and I lost them. And
so do you have a camera on your shoulder?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was just you? Was there another camera person?
No, I mean, there was a sound guy, a sound woman, and I had, sometimes I was like on the shoulder, and sometimes I had, something like gyroscope stabilization system. So it was possible for me to make movement, but very smooth.
Okay.
But me, I mean, as filmmaker, I was in it, and I didn't feel any fear or something like that. It was just there is something when you are filming. I just think, oh yeah, that's interesting. Because I'm doing something with it, and yes, if it's cinematographic, if it's cinegenic, I just in it, and I don't think about the danger or something like that. Wow. But what I was really concerned is more about the people who I was with. So I was trying to follow them and all the time, and it was very difficult because it was so many things were happening at the same time. It was very difficult. So my fear was more about them than about me.
And you said you lost them at one point?
Yeah, because even the group, I mean, all those people, you have to imagine that people, some of them were old, some of them handicapped, really handicapped. I mean, that was so crazy to see people who have heavy problems of heaviness, but also handicapped with problem in the legs. And they were walking like 2 hours to go, but because they had to come by car in Paris, but the car, it was not possible to put them in the Champs-Elysees. They had to put them in suburbs. So they walked from the suburb to the Champs-Elysees, 2 hours long walk. People who were old, and they arrived, and then explosion of violence. And they are afraid, and so the group some people go there, others go there, and me, I wanted also to see what was happening where the more violence was happening. So when I found them again, it was at the end, and it was very hard because they understood at this point that the rest of the society will see them as destroyers, even if they felt to be attacked. I mean, because it's always a problem. Who is the beginner of this kind of violence? I don't want to enter in it because it's a big problem. And even if you are there, you don't understand all the time what was happening. As you say, it's a war zone. In a war zone, you don't know. Things are happening everywhere, and what was at first, you don't know. Okay. And they understood that this victory there was a part of victory and also a part of defeat, because the images will be catastrophic for them.
Yeah, and it does seem it's a climactic moment in the film, and you get the sense that it was a climactic moment for the movement. I don't want to give away the ending of your film because it's very interesting, the trajectory of your four principles, what happens with Agnès, Alain, Nathalie, and Benoit. And again, on the human level, beyond ideology, what we see them go through is really deeply, deeply moving. And while I won't describe the last shot, I'll just say you have a fantastic last shot that you hold for a long time, this one image, and it raises the question, what is the future of the Gilets Jaunes? What do you think?
I think that what appeared there is that, but it's, I'm not a sociologist, but what I felt is that, okay, in France, the problem of the left side, the left wing, and they abandoned the question of the French workers, French working class, not from the suburb, and all the question of the poverty and the social problems were centered on the question of the suburbs, of the metropole, Parisian suburbs, Marseille, from
big cities and
big city suburbs, where there is where social economical problems are mixed with cultural problems of all of those, and so they forgot that, okay, but there is a big part, a majority of the population which lives in the rest of the country in small cities, suburbs of the small cities, which are very different from suburbs of big cities. They are disconnected from this new world globalized, this new globalized world, and those people, they are deeply French in a way that they are connected with the French history. They see, when there was, in 2005, there was a big rebellion, revolt of the suburbs. And I think in the US, you saw images of that. Not you, but you were there. But and they didn't come in Paris. The big difference there is that it's people from provinces, from countryside, from small cities, and they came directly on the Champs-Elysees. Why? Because they felt like I'm these people. I'm the French people. I'm deeply from. I come from the revolutionary of 1789.
1789.
They felt like, okay, I'm the son of these people, and that's very different. This connection. I mean, I saw the re-emergence of the feeling of being that the working class is not only something economical, it's something also cultural.
So let's start. We didn't talk yet about why this gas tax was imposed. You talk about the politicians on the left being out of touch with ordinary people these days. What was the purpose of the gas tax?
It was a tax on, especially on the gas oil, and not from the super. I don't know how to say super. Different
but it's what you put in in the tank of your car.
Yeah, and so for something they say ecology. It was the tax for ecology. So it was like, wow, they make a space. They make those working class people. They thought, okay, they make a space about ecology, but the rest of the problem. I mean, why make a space for the ecology? How they felt it as something very hypocritical.
Hypocritical. Yeah, and I think for a lot of Parisians, say on the left, you think, oh, a gas tax, that's great.
Yeah,
that will
great.
discourage people from driving so much. But you know, I've traveled all over France, and a lot of France is like America. You need a car.
Exactly.
I mean, in much of America, you need a car to survive. And I don't think Parisians necessarily realize how in a lot of this country, you need a car just to go buy your groceries. And so if every time you get in your car, every time you load the tank, you're paying more. You're already struggling to get by. I remember someone saying, you know, the government's worried about what happens in the next century. I'm worried about what happens at the end of the month, you know, because they were just struggling, and this was an added burden. You mentioned 2005. Now, for people who don't know, in 2005, two kids. They speak of the banlieue, the suburbs of big cities, which are these sort of concrete neighborhoods, often populated by immigrants and the children of immigrants. And two kids were being chased by the police and wound up dying, and it led to riots all around France in these concrete suburbs where kids burned cars, and you had an image of immigrants and children of immigrants who didn't feel as if they were part of French society. And that is a very interesting contrast with the Gilets Jaunes, who are coming from suburbs much farther out, farther away from the big cities. Yeah, so I couldn't help noticing that among the Gilets Jaunes, you see very few black people, you see very few minorities, as we say in America. It does seem like a movement of the white working class. And in America, since the victory of Donald Trump in 2016, there's been a lot of preoccupation with the white working class. And in America, it's always tinged with a certain racial bias. What is the difference here in France, from the Trumpists to the Gilets Jaunes?
In America, we think we talk about white lash, like backlash of white people, and there is something kind of similar, but which is not directly racial, because I think it's more about the people. But there is something similar as people in US that were not from states like New York. They were Rusted Belt.
Yes, the Rust Belt.
The Rust Belt. So there is something similar geographically, and the racial question was not first for them, was not a real problem, was not a real question. It was not that, but in fact, because they were not coming from suburbs, they were coming from somewhere else where
the
provinces which are whiter, and. And it was like forgotten that, okay, poverty was not only immigrants, it's also white people. So it's just that in our way of looking at the society, we forgot that, okay, white are not always bourgeois and rich and privileged. No, it does exist, this kind of people who are really out the society. But there is a big difference for me. Enfin, it's not it's what I felt when I was with them. The big difference, it's okay, white people from but working class, but they are very Republican. They feel to be the son of the Révolution Française.
Republican meaning the Republic of France, not
yes,
the party, not the Republican Party, but the Republic of France.
Exactly. Their values are the revolution, the equality, a strong state to protect the population. The idea of equality, of public services, something, a state which is a protection for all the people, and also the idea that we can kill the king. Were very important, and that makes a big difference with America, because I think in US the ideology is very different. It's more about my individual right, my individual freedom, and all of that. So it goes somewhere else politically. So I think it's, there is a base which can be similar, but because it's not from the same culture, from the same history, the Yellow Vest defends something which is more leftist in a way. Right. It means public services, the state protectional state, and also an idea of laicity, and they are not
secularism.
Yeah, secularism is.
Mm-hmm. Well, this leads to the question of your title, Un Peuple, a people, and to me that's one of those. That's a title that is both loaded and ambiguous. You know what I mean? Loaded, it's charged with exactly. Some meaning, but you're not quite sure what the meaning is. Exactly. I like that kind of title. Exactly. But how did you come to that title?
But I thought a lot about, because the Gilets Jaunes, they were constantly saying, "We are the people, we are the people, we are the people," but and people from other class were saying, and I understand, but you are not the people. I mean, I'm also part of the people. Why do you say that you are the people? I mean, me, and you can be a bourgeois and be the people. What is it? What is that? So, but I felt that, but when you say we are the people, it means something, not only that I'm French, it means that we are the people in something really deep. We are the people and it means that we are not the power people. We are the people with no power, and that's what defines. So, but because there was also so many discussions about what is the people, I felt that that maybe they are not the people, but they are a people, and what is this? And that's the question. I mean, that's the question. What is who are they, and what is these people? Enfin, so that's.
And it seems that there's no politician who's been able to channel the energy of the Gilets Jaunes. Could you envision a Gilets Jaunes party and a candidate running for the Gilets Jaunes?
Some of them, but no, because there is no They tried. Some of them tried to be to organize a party or something like that, and but it didn't have any meaning, because it's like people were angry, but with coming from a different kind of political side. I mean, some people were extreme right, Front National, and some of them were really extreme gauche, but most of them, they just don't know about anything about politics. I mean, so trying to organize a party, it was like, but there is no theoretical base, so it was impossible. So I don't think there is a future in a party or something like that. I think that they are still there. I mean, they still exist. I mean, what is important for me is not that they are organized now. They won't be organized, I think, but that there are individuals, people who felt like, okay, I have a place and I am legitimate to be recognized in this world. That's all. I mean, that's what they felt for the first time for most of them. I have the right to say something about me.
Right. So some people might think that this movement is over, but it seems that it's something that could spring back to life at any minute.
Because we are going in a more and more violent world. I mean, economically, I think, and more globalized. So, and I felt that something very sad and sad about. It's really like all the people who are still humans, who are still made of flesh and blood, who doesn't fit in this world where the countries like France or England, they would like to have to be just financial countries where the industry is in China or anywhere, but not in their own country. And so those kind of people who are the working class, they don't fit in this world, but they are still there. They are still there. And what do you make with them? That's the big question, I think, of the future century. What do you make of all the people? And some people, sorry, but Yellow Vests were really angry against one guy who said it clearly. It was like an intellectual who said, just, les Gilets Jaunes doivent disparaître. Just physiquement disparaître.
They have to disappear.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. They are useless, really useless. So when you feel like being considered as useless, you're hungry.
Well, bravo, Emmanuel. It's a terrific film, and bonne continuation.
Merci.